everyone. I just want to come on here and make this uh, live video review of One Hand Clapping. I saw it yesterday at a theater that is like about 5 towns away from where I live, called in a town called Cathedral City. The theater was called Mary Pickford, and that was the only theater that was showing One Hand Clapping because a lot of these specialty films, do not really go to like the major theaters that we have over here, like Cinemark, Signature, Regal, and stuff like that. Everything goes to the kind of like one of the film festival theaters that we have here, which is the Mary Pickford Theater. So I went, took the bus about 5 towns away. It was like a long ways of took me about like an hour and a half just to get there by bus. And, so I got there and, there's like a lot of people that was there. There's like about 20 people that showed up, which is, handy for the kind of theater that was showing. And there's other people that were there to see it because there was two showings yesterday, 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. I went to the 5 o'clock one. So I got there and then the movie started, and of course, like like on every theater, you see the previews and stuff like that. Then the film starts, and the film starts with Paul McCartney, like he's talking about like hey, this is One Hand Clapping. It's been in my vaults for many years, like, and I'm glad to bring it to everybody. And he talks about like the band. He talks about like how they first got in, like Jimmy McCulloch and Jeff Bryton, who were like the new guys of Wings, and that was gonna join Paul along with Linda and Denny. And then they even talked about like Jeff Emmerich was there as engineer and the guy that directed the film. And then even talk about like we and they decided to do all this at Studios number two. EMI Studio number two, which is where the Beatles recorded all the stuff in Abbey Road. And so Paul opens up the movie, and then the film starts, and then you got some nice performances. You got really nice performances of Jet, Sully, Band on the Run, Live and Let Die, My Love. A nice little medley with Sea Moon, Little Woman Love. You got Paul on the piano doing Suicide, and I'll Give You a Ring. And to answer Call Me Mr. Broadstreet's inquiry, it was actually the B-side to Take It Away, not Tug of War. But yeah, so and also there's like some type of nice interviews. You hear from all the individual band members. You're just not hearing Paul talk. You're also hearing Linda talk, you're hearing Denny, you're hearing Jimmy and Jeff. It's great to hear them, talking about the sessions and stuff. And you hear also seeing them like, working on the songs, getting themselves familiar with the things. And, you know, and you could see like, like both Jeff and Jimmy were just like having like a ball of a time, as the new guys of Wings. Like they were happy to be there and stuff like that. And so it's great to see them, like their beginnings with Wings, even though Jeff would not be with Wings for that long. Like I think he only lasted for about a year, and then he quit, and then we got Joe English. And so I think the cool thing about this whole One Hand Clapping is we got a whole thing, a whole album and film where we have Jeff Bryton on drums. The first ever full release of anything of him as a member of Wings, because they only had like about 2 songs on this album. I think it was like Letting Go and one other song that I'm spacing out on. And of course he played drums on Junior's Farm and Sally G. But that was basically it. Everything else was Joe English. So, and then the film ends, and for a minute there, I was like, you know what? That's it? Because they're just showing us that that whole thing of them in the studio. But then at the end of the film, like, Paul comes back on. He's like, hey, wait a minute. Don't get out of your seat. We got one more thing, and it's me in the backyard of EMI Studios, like working on a couple things, So, like, stay tuned. Here's the film. And then he comes back on, and the whole thing starts. Shows the whole film of the backyard sessions. Starts off with a really cool song that I did a cover of that you can see on my channel, a Blackpool. Great song. Blackpool, 2338, 23 Blackpool is a place to be. Love that song. And it's so great to finally get that song like totally released now, putting it into the canon of the McCartney history, And then of course, he went into like this whole nice little medley of Buddy Holly stuff, like Peggy Sue and I'm Gonna Love You Too, two my favorite songs I liked of Buddy Holly's. He also did like Sweet Little 16 by Chuck Berry, and like I could see like he was like a little bit nervous because he didn't want it to do a bad performance, and then he gets sued as well, since John Lennon was the one that got sued because he stole from, I guess he borrowed from one of Chuck Berry's songs, So I think Paul was like a little bit like, like hesitant to do this little song, but he did it, And he also did 20 Flight Rock, which is, everybody knows, is like the starter song of his career with like, the Beatles and stuff like that. The song that he sang with, sang for John, that got him into John's band, and so I have after saying all of that, I have to give this film possibly, I think I was like a C average last night. I think I since upgraded to a C plus. And the reason why I say that is because I think it should have been filmed on actual film and not videotape. So the quality of the film itself, I think it works more by watching it like on a TV set than it does on full screen, because when you blow up a footage of a VHS, tape onto a full screen, you're gonna see like a lot of these like, little staticky kind of, imperfections, and like how old that it totally got throughout the years, So like, it's, you just see like all the blemishes and everything, like, and imperfections in a full screen that just not look good. Like it doesn't matter if you run something through a 4K thing, like a VHS thing, it's gonna look like crap. So it was grainy. And then as far as sound goes, they're using two sources. One source was the master tapes of EMI that Jeff Emmerich recorded. They used like a lot of that to do the whole nice 5.1 Dolby Digital surround thing for the thing. So that footage of the film looked great, but the thing was, there's also some interviews, as you all know. And when it came to the interviews, I think that they would splice things so that no section where the interviews are, Paul took that film back to Peter Jackson, and Peter Jackson, as people put it, through the whole Mal demixing kind of thing, so that they could turn that into like, a stereo kind of mix. And so throughout the whole thing is like, it's going from like 5.1 stereo to demix stereo to mono, then back to demix stereo and 5.1 stereo. So you're just like, like getting like this whole kind of weird quality of sound throughout the entire film, which again could only be sound good if you're listening to a nice television set, you know, plasma, like flat screen, stuff like that. Um, if you don't have like a 5.1, if it's just like, you know, just like a dual stereo kind of thing, then it'll sound great. But if it's in the theater, it's not going to sound really good, because then you're going to notice the difference of quality of audio and stuff. And I think they weren't able to totally take the interviews out of it, and then, like, you know, do like EQs, because some of the interviews also were like kind of muddy, you know, like they weren't properly EQ'd, you know. And also everybody sounded like a kind of sound like a chipmunk when you hear them, like, you know, talking the thing, like, you know, like, oh yes, and like they're like, everybody's voice was like, oh I'm in here and I'm going to do this and I'm gonna, and everything's like that, you know, like, you know, so everybody sounded kind of like chickmonkey when you hear them talk, you know, in their interviews, you know. And I noticed that a lot of other footages that there are of, especially Paul, like from the 70s and the early 80s, stuff like that, that when they will show us that kind of footage, like, let's say, for instance, when Paul was working on the tug of war Pipes of Peace stuff, they'll show us some footage and him being interviewed, and he'll be up here like, you know, yes, you know, Paul's not like that. It doesn't sound like a talk like a chipmunk, but that's how it was, like, you know, with this whole one hand clapping, like everybody sounded like a chipmunk. Linda McCartney sounded very much like a chipmunk, you know. So I have to give this like a C plus. You know, like it could have been better, but with whatever kind of like what they had, like, you know, it just wasn't up to par, to considering like how everything was when we got the Get Back stuff. Because when we got Get Back stuff, we were like wondering, like, oh, is this gonna look all ugly and stuff like that? Because we've seen all the bootlegs and stuff like that, and everything of, you know, like Let It Be, and like the film didn't look so good, and so, but then when we got Get Back, and then we got Let It Be, you know, Peter Jackson and his people did like an amazing job restoring all of that, you know, like, and it looked as if it was filmed yesterday, you know. But when it came to this, I think we I think we all had that kind of expectation of what we got from Get Back, which was, oh, okay, Paul's gonna do this nice restoration. It's gonna look really good and everything, and, you know, like with Peter Jackson and everything, this film's gonna look amazing. Didn't turn out that way, sadly. Um, we didn't get, like, you know, a really good, you know, like a grand slam with this one, you know. So, um, but overall, it is an enjoyable experience to see, you know, Wings and working on this stuff. And, like, you know, it's really great to see, like, you know, the new guys come in and learning all the stuff from the Band on the Run stuff that was previously done, and plus all the stuff that was on Red Rose Speedway and everything. Um, so it's enjoyable. It could have been better, but it's still like an enjoyable kind of film. So if it's in your area, I would recommend going out to see it, you know. And I'm really hoping that it does come out like on Blu-ray, and hopefully it'll come out on like Disney Plus streaming. Hopefully Paul would work with something so that it could be streamed, like, you know, maybe something that people could stream during the holidays, you know, like, hey, like, you know, for like a nice holiday thing, we're gonna show one hand clapping on Disney Plus, you know. um so that's my review, you know, like, it's good, you know, like, it could be better, but it's a good, it's an enjoyable thing in the most part, you know. So go and watch it, you know, like, if you haven't, like, you know, and let me know what you think, like, you know, once you watch it, like, how you felt about the whole thing. Um, but yeah, so that's my review. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you next time. There's another Dusty Spins stream, okay? Have a great one. Love you. Keep hydrated, too.